Bayer would like to welcome you to this presentation on Fairy Ring. My name is Zach Riker, and I'm a member of the Bayer Green Solutions team. Fairy Ring at one time was more of a nuisance in turfgrass areas, forming dark green patches in greens and other areas. In the last 5 or 10 years, it's become more of a serious problem where Fairy Ring is actually killing turfgrass on greens, fairways, or tees. And pathologists have divided into 3 main types of this, based on the symptoms that we see. Type 3 are rings of mushrooms with no visible negative effect or no visible greening effect on the turf. Type 2 fairy ring is ones that we most commonly see on turfgrass areas, and these are rings of dark green turf with or without mushrooms. Type 1 fairy ring is the worst type of fairy ring for turfgrass managers, and this is the type that is actually causing death to the turf. Fairy ring can be effectively controlled with preventative applications of fungicides, but until you first get that history of symptoms of fairy ring, most superintendents do not apply specifically for fairy ring. And here's an example in the summer of 2010, where this was the first summer of fairy ring on this particular course. Turned out it was a hot and dry summer, and so it really magnified the symptoms from fairy ring. This is the same green 1 year later, showing the effectiveness of preventative fungicide applications for fairy ring. Fairy ring can be caused by multiple basidiomycetes, and they are highly variable and may not be controlled by a single fungicide. You may or may not see mushrooms depending on the type of fairy ring that you have. And fairy ring, it's important to understand that fairy ring does not actually attack the plants. And what it does instead, it forms hydrophobic layers in the thatch, and thus it prevents water from moving down into the soil. And often the turf grass suffers because of dryness. And secondly, fairy ring can also cause damage from the release of nitrogen from those fungi working on the organic matter, and that will either stimulate, causing the turf to turn green, or it could be to the point that it'll actually kill the turf from essentially the same symptoms as a fertilizer spill. Fairy ring fungi can form a hydrophobic mat in the soil. On the left is a picture of a typical soil, whereas on the right, the top inch or so of that shows the hydrophobic mat that is formed by fairy ring. This mat also has a real organic smell to it, and so those are 2 symptoms that you will find with fairy ring. With all other diseases, it's important to maximize your management strategies to help minimize fairy ring. First long-term strategy is to minimize thatch through aeration, vertical mowing, frequent top dressing, anything you can do to minimize that thatch buildup and prevent enough thatch for the fairy ring to start working on in there. Secondly, for minor type 3 infestations, you can use nitrogen or iron to mask that, and the golfers will never know that you have an infestation. Maintain soil moisture, as we said earlier. Most of this is a lot of the damage from fairy ring is through hydrophobicity or lack of water moving down, so maintaining soil moisture will help minimize symptoms. And then the last thing would be to use wetting agents to help maximize water movement. Most of the information that we know about fairy ring control comes from Dr. Lee Miller when he was a graduate student at North Carolina State University, and now the work that he continues at the University of Missouri. And Dr. Miller figured out that first application for fairy ring should be applied when 2-inch soil temperatures reach 55 to 60 degrees for a period of 5 days in the spring. And this is much earlier than when we would ever be seeing any symptoms from fairy ring. Second application should be 28 days later, and these 2 applications should control the vast majority of fairy ring on most golf courses. And then if a third application is needed, that should be again about another 28 to 56 days after the second application if the conditions are conducive, hot and dry, or if you start seeing symptoms of fairy ring. You should always apply in at least 2 gallons of water, and then also irrigate after application with 1/8 to 1/4 inch of water to move that active ingredient down to the depth of fairy ring activity. In some courses, fairy ring may be active only in the top 1/8 to 1/4 inch, whereas in some courses it might be down to 1/2 inch or 1 inch deep. Bayer solutions for Fairy Ring include the first application would be approximately 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit at 2-inch depth in the soil, and that would include either Balaton, Flow, or Tartan. And that application would be made 3, 4, 5 weeks prior to even expecting any symptoms to be seen. Second application would be about 28 days after the first, and that could be either Balaton or Tartan again, or you could use Mirage, and Mirage offers the benefit of improved control of anthracnose, brown ring patch, or summer patch. And then the third application, actually those first two applications would take care of the vast majority of golf courses in extremely hot and dry years, or when you start seeing symptoms appear on problematic areas. A third application about 28 to 56 days later would be ProStar at 2.2 ounces, and ProStar is a highly effective curative application. Thanks again for taking the time to listen to this short presentation on Fairy Ring. And remember, when you use Bayer products, you get a solution to your problem, a backed by Bayer satisfaction guarantee, and access to expertise from our area sales manager, as well as the Green Solutions team. Please contact your local Bayer area sales manager or the Bayer Green Solutions team for more information, and thanks again.